This week, we're facing a brand new ice age in Frostpunk, a brand new city-building survival hybrid that will chill you to your bones. And with Detroit Become Human looming just over the horizon, it's time to revisit Johnny's interview with David Cage from a little while ago. This is Player Attack. Hi, I'm Jessica Citizen, and this week 15 people have been arrested and fined a total of $5.1 million for their part in developing hacks for PUBG. All 15 of the arrests took place in China, while other suspects are being investigated. The criminals reportedly created their own hacks as well as hosting and selling third-party efforts. The most concerning of the lot is a Trojan horse found embedded in a widely distributed program, which Chinese authorities explain can be used to control users' PCs, scan their data, and extract information illegally. Put simply, people were paying good money for illegal software that then wreaked havoc on their own machines and stole their data. With hacking and cheating still running riot throughout PUBG, the developer has promised it will continue to crack down on hacking and cheating programs and their creators, with the aim, of course, a totally fair environment for everyone. Following on from last week's story out of the Netherlands, the Belgian Gaming Commission has also ruled that in-game microtransaction loot boxes meet the definition of a game of chance. Specifically looking at Overwatch, Star Wars Battlefront 2, FIFA 18 and CSGO, a team of engineers, lawyers and IT specialists from the Gaming Commission has determined that paying loot boxes are games of chance, and if those are further exploited, the game is breaking the law. Because, obviously, the problem is far more widespread than just the 4 games the Commission looked at, the official response is to issue a number of recommendations to policymakers, game manufacturers, game platforms, and even license providers such as FIFA, calling upon them to stop the spreading loot box epidemic. And in more fun legal dramas, the Norwegian Consumer Council is reporting that 4 online gaming platforms breach European consumer law. Steam, Origin, the PlayStation Store and the Nintendo eShop have all been mentioned, predictably over issues surrounding the right of withdrawal. It's the same sort of thing that got Steam in trouble with the Australian consumer watchdog last week. European gamers were being actively prevented from cancelling their pre-orders on the Nintendo eShop, with the Norwegians also finding that Steam, Origin and the PlayStation Store all claim to be exempt from the right of withdrawal, denying European gamers the statutory right to cancel a purchase. The official statement from Finn Lutzelholm Myrstad, Director of Digital Services at the Consumer Council, explains that digital purchases do not exist in a lawless vacuum, and these companies must adhere to all applicable laws. The report also highlights a lack of clarity by the 4 gaming platforms. Earlier correspondence with Nintendo asking the company to comply with European law and change its cancellation policy has reportedly gone nowhere, prompting the Consumer Council to file a formal complaint about the eShop, Steam, Origin and PlayStation Store. Tune in next week to find out who else is cracking down on online retailers. In quick news, even though the brand new God of War is smashing records all over the place, the team at Sony Santa Monica is far from resting on its laurels. The game has already been patched up to version 1.12, and the latest update brings with it one oft-requested feature. Simply put, you can now adjust the size of the on-screen text. You're welcome. Zelda Breath of the Wild is officially the best-selling Zelda game of all time, but only if you don't count remasters. It has sold nearly 8.5 million copies on Switch and 1.5 on Wii U, adding up to almost 10 million units worldwide, putting it comfortably ahead of previous record holder Twilight Princess, which sold 8.85 million copies across GameCube and Wii, but then Twilight Princess HD also sold 1.23 million on Wii U, so that's just over 10 million units sold in total. But then, things get even more interesting when you look at Ocarina of Time. The original release is languishing with a mere 7.6 million units sold on the Nintendo 64, but it saw 4 million sold on 3DS, bringing the total to a massive 11.6 million, putting it firmly in the lead. And sticking with Nintendo, new cardboard project Labo launched last week, and while it's certainly a conversation starter, it doesn't seem to be quite the sales boost the publisher was expecting. In its first week on sale, Labo sold just 30% of its initial shipment in Japan, and sales of the Switch console actually decreased week on week. On one hand, Big N could have simply shipped more than required to avoid the empty shelf problem it's seen with recent releases, but on the other, maybe those new cardboard bits and pieces aren't selling quite as well as expected. It's been less than 2 years now since the launch of Battlefield 1, but already EA and DICE have announced the game's monthly update service will cease in June. As a bit of a last hurrah, the developer is releasing a brand new mode for the game, Shock Operations, before the shutdown, which will introduce a new fast-paced 40-player control sector map. But after that, there won't be much attention being paid to the game. That said, with EA all but announcing a brand new Battlefield will be on show at E3, you won't have to wait too long to find out what DICE has been up to. And finally this week, let's talk NetHack. The game has just been updated to version 3.6.1, which fixes a large number of issues that slipped into 3.60. The dev team has also announced that 3.6.1 is the final official 3.6 version of the game, barring some sort of major issue that requires a new release. But I mean, games get updated all the time, so why is this one so important? Because NetHack, an open source dungeon crawler, is more than 30 years old. Version 3.2.2 was released in May 1996. It was updated a few times over the next 2 decades, with the 3.6.0 version released in December 2015. And while this one is just a maintenance release, fans of the game should take note. A bunch of platforms will be dropped from the game by the time the next update rolls around. Specifically, the following machines will no longer be able to play any version of NetHack after 3.6.1. Amiga, Atari, Macintosh Classic, BEOS, OS2, 16-bit MS-DOS, and anything requiring floppy disk support. We're not suggesting it's time to update your gaming rig by any means, just that maybe it's time to start making alternative arrangements if you want to keep playing. For more information on any of these stories, or to keep up to date with the latest gaming news, head to playerattack.com. But for now, stick around, we've got plenty more still to come.